Hey folks, I'm Robert Quinn, your go-to source for semiconductor industry insights here on LinkedIn. I'm excited to introduce a brand new live stream series, Beyond the Wafer, where we dive into the people, perspectives, and leadership shaping innovation in semiconductors and beyond. Joining me on my show is Robert Wolf. Join me for our first episode here. How's it going, man?
Hello, how's it going? Hey, Robert, what's going on?
Good to see you.
Good, yeah, good to see you too. So, we should start calling this R&R. Get a little bit of rest and relaxation, or Robert Quinn and Robert Wolf. This is exciting, man. Thank you for including me in this. Beyond the Wafer. I think the name is great because we're going to be taking conversations with C-suite leadership. I mean, anyone in leadership in the tech industry, just kind of beyond the wafer. Get a little bit of casual conversations in, but also asking some serious questions too. So I'm excited to hear what you come up with.
For sure, it's going to be a fun episode.
So it's time to bring in the guest, but I would like to first talk about, I think a little bit more about what this guest means to me, because we have Raul Vergara, who's the CRO of Thistle Technologies. And Thistle Technologies is I got a message. Thistle Technologies is basically a security platform that you can put on IoT devices. It offers OTA, secure boot, but I'm going to let him talk more about that. Raul himself is a mentor of mine. And he came onto this first episode because I thought it would be just kind of great to include him in on this and get to ask him some questions and have some fun more than anything in this episode. So, Robert, let's bring in Raul Vergara, CRO of Thistle Technologies. How's it going, Raul?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I thought you were inviting me because I knew what I was doing, not because...
It's just because you're a friend. It's just because you're a friend and a mentor. That's the only reason. I like your background, by the way.
Thank you. It's kind of the Thistle aura.
Yeah. So, Raul, we kind of like to start these off with, Robert, if you don't mind, like an origin story of sorts, right? I mean, like, we want to know who you are. People are going to watch you for a whole hour here. We got to convince them to stay on the line so that they build your credibility a little bit,
Absolutely. Well, how about if I start with you, and then I'll go next.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Hello, I'm Robert
RW is. I think a lot of people know who I am, but let me start with you, and let's definitely talk about Robert Wolf a little bit here also. I think that'll be a great way to kick it off.
Excellent. All right. So Robert Wolf, my name is, and I graduated UCSD electrical engineering back in 2015. I worked at Lenaro. I worked at ARM. I did a lot of advisory ships. I worked at UCSD itself, built a lot of content, really enjoyed community management, developer relations. That's kind of what I gravitated towards. Even though I did technical writing, I did applications engineering, I did a whole bunch of stuff, but I just kind of gravitated towards community. And so now you see me basically running DevEco with a whole bunch of other cool friends in the Dev Corps. We have an amazing community over there, hanging out with content creators and influencers like Robert Quinn here, and making awesome friends with folks like Raul Vergara. It's just kind of like all over the place. That's me in a nutshell. Yeah. Otherwise, go to my LinkedIn.
That's sweet. Yeah, definitely check out his LinkedIn for sure. As you all may know, I am Robert Quinn, the semiconductor industry kind of influencer, ambassador. I've traveled the world as a field engineer in the past. I've worked in many different aspects of the industry. I've worked in management. I've worked in operations. I've worked in engineering, from process engineering of ALD, PVD, CD, CVD, RTP, all the different equipment sets that are out there. And I've been able to really learn the semiconductor industry ecosystem from the bottom up. And I think that's what makes it fun. And about my LinkedIn, I'm able to write and talk about the semiconductor industry from understanding the perspectives of everybody, from the very bottom, from the sub fab all the way up to the top of the chain there, and making it interesting and talking about where things are going and who's doing what. I love talking about the technology, but I also like talking about the money and where the money is going and where the mergers and acquisitions are happening. That it's so much fun talking about this industry. We're seeing so much change, rapid change happening in this industry. And I would love to bring that to the forefront of the industry and just getting people to talk about that, and yeah, this is such a fun part of the ecosystem.
Now I think it's your turn, Raul.
Oh, okay, cool. So Not as interesting as you people, but I'm an electronic engineer by trade. Early on in my career, I crossed to the dark side of the force and ended up in sales. So it's been 23 years in sales right now. So I've been doing this for a while. I work at SAP, work at ARM, different times with you. From ARM, I went to Edge Impulse, and now I'm at Thistle. Always kind of around these last 10 plus years I've been around always IoT and the edge, and from different angles, from connecting the devices to bringing AI to the edge to now securing the devices at the edge. So very fun ride. There's so many angles to the edge that I think it's been a very interesting ride.
Raul, I was cutting the grass the other day, and I was going to bring a thistleweed with me to this show.
Why didn't you?
I should have. I couldn't hold the darn thing. It has so many like spikes and all over the place. You don't want to touch it. It's quite a defense mechanism. Tell me about Thistle and how did they come across the name Thistle? I love hearing that.
For sure. I mean, when I joined, I spoke with Window about it. And by the way, I think the reason you didn't bring the Thistle because this doesn't exist anymore. I think you just mown it. But the reason why the Thistle is our logo is because it's probably one of the most resilient plants out there. You find them in all continents except Antarctica. Last December, I was in Yellowstone doing this winter wildlife viewing, and it's like -10, and the thistles are out there. So kind of a nice. But in nature, like a lot of what us humans do, there's so much inspiration on how we build our products, how we live our lives, what we do, and security is not the exception. There's a lot of things to get inspired by nature and how it resilience and all of these defense mechanisms, and the resilience of the thistle, the thorns, how it grows anywhere. All of these things kind of inspired our logo and kind of our ethos of how we want to start building this organic approach to security. That's awesome. How we ended up with it.
So, Raul, I want to do a little bit of an icebreaker. I know we got to know you a little bit already, but we really want to make C-suite leadership smile. We want to make them laugh. We want to make them think, and we want to make the viewers kind of learn a little bit more about the life behind the job, I guess. Though in many cases, it does relate to the job. So one of the questions I'm going to ask you before we even dive in to anything is what keeps you up at night as a CRO in this crazy tech world?
I think in a more generic way, what keeps me at night is keeping a good balance between work and life, because it's hard, right? I feel very passionate about what I do at work, and I feel very passionate about my life at home with my wife. And when you get invested in any of these two sides, it's easy to forget the other side, right? You get into work on one, and before you know it, you've been 3 days glued to your computer, or I don't know, you're in a cruise in Hawaii and you forget about work a little bit. The reality is 2/3 of the time you're awake, you're working, right? You get into an office, you work from 8 to 5, hopefully, if you're lucky. And then you have a few hours to do dinner, and before you know it, you're already sleeping. So most of the time you're awake, you're working. So you might as well enjoy it. But from a CRO perspective, I think there are CROs for different stages in companies. I think the number one thing you care about as a CRO is the money, right? The revenue. Are we bringing the revenue that the company needs to either survive, to strive, to show growth, to go for the next round of investment, right? So if you're early stage, I think the CRO has a little bit of a different role. Has a little bit more of, it's not just the revenue, but how do we put all the pieces together? How do we plan for the next 3 years of growth that are filled with uncertainty and lots of really cool things? So it's a little bit like going with a compass. You know what your north is, you don't know how to get there, right? Your compass just points you to north. When you're in a large organization, you have a GPS. So it tells you exactly all the steps that you have to take to get there, but it takes time, right? And every time you deviate a little bit, it goes rerouting, and you have to wait for it to reroute. So there's always this much more planned approach, which is slower, versus only looking for the north and just moving and figuring out as you go. And that's kind of where we are in Thistle. We know what we want to do, but we're trying to figure it out, right? Security is not a new thing. Security, and this is what keeps me really awake at nights, is that we've been trying to sell security for a long time in the industry. And security has never been a feature. It's something that people will minimally try to approach and not touch it because they want to build what they can charge more for. And normally security is kind of like a checkbox. So what keeps me alive is, will the market change? And I think there's lots of really cool factors coming into play that will make this change. That without that, I think we'll be in the same state of the last 10 years where people just avoid talking about security.
So on that note, thank you, by the way, amazing answer. On that note, you said there are some things that have been changing in the industry, right? Like, especially when we're looking at security as a feature. Let's talk about CRA, or the Cyber Resilience Act. Maybe for anyone who's watching that hasn't heard this term at all and have no idea what it is, let's pretend that everyone is that person. What is the Cyber Resilience Act?
Yes. So first of all, it's Europe-based, and it will soon be rolled under the CE stamp that you get to be able to sell your devices. So every device that is connected to the internet, that's kind of the first phase. Any device that is connected to the internet needs to have a minimum amount of security features implemented. Otherwise, in 36 months, you won't be able to sell that product. It won't get the CE stamp, so you can't sell it. And I think that's amazing, right? That's exactly what the market needed. It needed, for me, CRA is a catalyst of everything that we knew we had to do. Now you don't get to just know it. Now you get to do it because you're forced to. And sometimes you have to force people into doing the right thing. The problem is that until, I would say recently, there's not a lot of companies out there that are providing you the tools to do this easy. It's a little bit of do it yourself. So CRA basically has three big things. One is the device has to be secure by design, like from the get-go, which meaning secure boot has to be enabled, right? You can't run anything that is not authorized to run. Okay, great. One. Two, it needs to be updatable because you get patches, you get new functionalities, all the way from sustainability. I want to extend the life of that device. Like so many reasons why, but it's adding that resilience to the device. So you need to have updates, which are secure, by the way. It's not just swapping a file. And you also need to make sure that the data that you had at rest is safe as well. Think about devices that are running LLMs. An LLM and a big IoT device, and I know I'll get asked about what a big device is eventually, but if you have a big device that can run an LLM, that LLM has so much corporate knowledge in there that you don't want anyone either looking at or playing with and changing things, right? If you have, there's lots of LLMs that are processing medical records, contracts. You don't want that sending a contract one way or the other, approving, not approving, looking at all those things. So you want to secure those. Those three are the big main things. I think there's also something about how to monitor the device on time. But as long as you expose the data of the device that gives you the hints if it's being hacked or not, but it's a little bit more post-mortem. As long as you do the first three, you're good to go with CRA. How you do it, they don't care. Just go implement it. There's so many ways to doing this. I think, as most in IoT, first approach is do it yourself. And I'm looking forward to see a lot of people try it because it's not easy.
Definitely. That is a great answer, and thank you. Yeah, Robert, do you have a? Should we start calling each other like Quinn and Wolf or something? Do you have a question? I have a ton of questions. So
no, go shoot for it. Shoot, Robert.
Okay, so this one is actually kind of like something I just thought of right now before the show is starting. Do you remember that incident that happened? What was it like? Airports, the entire system went down, and it was some faulty IT thing that happened, and CrowdStrike. Basically, they had to literally go up machine by machine in many cases and update it manually. Are you familiar with this one, Raul?
Yeah.
So is this anything related to how Thistle might change things, or would the same thing have happened?
I think it's good, right? So I think the where they are, I think so. I think that's still IoT, right? These are big laptops that are tethered to the cloud, where the cloud is doing something. But the moment that from the cloud you can break that endpoint, regardless of what it is, that was an edge device, right? And those laptops were edge devices. What I think happened is that you have to have protection for doing these updates, right? I've had my home smart home router being bricked. Like I missed an update, and after that update, it got bricked. I cannot connect anything. It's paper weight right now. It's gone, right? Wow. And if you think about IoT in the sense of like what happened in the airport or anything right now, look at the size of that surface attack. You have 18 billion devices today that are connected to the cloud. You can brick them, you can hack them, kind of like what happened in the casino, like what happened, what could potentially happen. Like CrowdStrike was not a hack, was more of a, oops, we did it again. But that goes to, proper updating processes, right? Having an A/B process where, the system is able to recover on its own. If my new firmware bricks the device, that's fine. It will roll automatically to B, and which is the latest working state. But 18 billion devices that you can't just go and update massively like the cloud. Like everyone who's using CrowdStrike will get an update. Okay, that's fine. But these 18 billion devices, first of all, most of them have no security. Most of them have no good update mechanisms. So those are gone. But by 2030, we'll hit about 40 billion devices. So that's more than double than what we have today. So you have to start thinking, well, this should be secured. And don't forget, these devices, it's not about hacking that one device. Great, right? It's a point of entry to a lot of things. Think about a device in a hospital. You hack there, you're inside a hospital system. You are in the DoD, you have one device, you are in the system, right? In space, aeronautics, right? Think about how airplanes are connected today. Your engines are connected. That's how you track, everything, predictive maintenance, where the engine was. That's how they track when airplanes get lost.
Yeah.
Just a small device, a screen on one of the seats on the airplane gets hacked, and suddenly now you have all of those things. The smallest thing
it's scaring me. I think about that kind of stuff on airplanes. Like, I'm not even worried about the mechanical stuff. Like, I'm worried about the electrical stuff, like a faulty wire or something. I mean, even with all the redundancies they've had, I've had multiple planes have to literally turn back around because like 2 redundancies triggered, or the one sensor and a redundancy. And I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah, and think about the slightest thing you could do, right? Imagine if all the screens on the airplane stop the movie and start putting, a bad joke about you're being hijacked, you're being, and it just goes crazy, and that airplane will definitely go around or go down. Think about playing with the screen on an airport. Screw and scramble with all of the gates.
Yeah.
That airport is gone. That day, nobody will get to the right terminal, right? So even the smallest things can have a high impact, right?
Why couldn't it be, think about walking up to an ATM and just having it spit money out at you?
Yeah, like in Terminator, right?
Yeah.
When he's a kid and he just goes and his mom taught him how to hack onto the ATMs.
You know what gets me is I'm always looking at AI agents, and the way that this new AI agent technology is just exponentially growing so fast. How is that going to be used for the bad in hacking, right? And whatever they're thinking about the exponential growth of security, the AI agents hacking security, wow, that could be a really tough thing to navigate with security.
I think there's 2 things together, right? There's AI, which I can go sleep and my agent is keep going at it, right? The reason why we can't hack a lot of things is just because we don't have enough speed and processing power. But here comes quantum compute to the rescue, right? And it's like, look, I can do this brute hacking a little bit faster you guys do with your traditional compute. So now brute hacking in quantum, it's a matter of minutes versus centuries. Then I can just go brute hacking. I don't even need to be smart. I just have something trying every angle in a bank and eventually go. And that's why a lot of people talk about post-quantum encryption and all of these cool things. But I think that's a problem for a little bit more of the future, because we have not even covered the basics.
Yeah.
Most devices out there have no secure boot, no update mechanism, no secure data at rest. And you brought a really good point from AI. The large models from AI have been training their models based on what? Everything they get their hands on the internet. Facebook, Siri, libraries, books, right? Everything they can. Great. They've done it. There's not a lot more data they can train on, especially when it comes to industrial use cases where you want to know if this piece of equipment is going to break or not, right? To do some sort of a predictive maintenance. Where does the data come from? From the device itself. That device itself is an IoT device at the edge with a bunch of really good sensors and a radio, taking data, sending it to the cloud. So now you have this really vulnerable device sending to the cloud a source of truth. You can play with it, right? You can change the data. It's a good way of hacking, right? Change the data so that the model gets trained in a way that it favors me.
Right.
Or it breaks things and I can now go in or explode whatever I want to do. So these devices need to be secured. This is kind of the basics. And AI is bringing, look, 10 years ago when I was at ARM, we had the same kind of thing, right? You were there, Robert Wolf. It was the secure device management platform. How many devices people had deployed? 10. What did that device do? It flips the light on and off. Sure. You know what? If you hack me, I'll just buy another 10 switches. We're good to go. Fast forward to today. There's a volume, right? There's 18 billion devices out there. So no longer 10 devices here and there. It's just a massive amount of devices in the world. Refineries, nuclear plants, space, aeronautics, boats, not even touching anything autonomous, right? Cars are full of microcontrollers and AI. So the volume is out there. The load that they're running right now, it's also changed. Before I was flipping lights on and off, right? I remember my first project at ARM was working with GE lights. And it's just like powering and connecting the street lights in roads. And the problems were like, how do I hop between posts in a very linear way where there's no gateways? So you're like hopping by one, and then you use all these geeky ways of communicating, like 6-low-pan, which always sounded Chinese to me. And right, those are the problems we're solving. But still, at the end of the day, is the light on and off? And I'm saving money on maintenance to know which lights are working, which ones aren't. That's it. Today, you have AI running a model, right? Doing anomaly detection, predictive maintenance, figuring out what data to send to the cloud or not, full language, large language models. You can go to stores like the Amazon shop stores where there's not even a person, it's a camera and just looks at what you're buying and you leave, right? So the IoT device, the edge today is doing a lot, right? So it's the pendulum. The pendulum went full cloud. And now it went a little bit back to the edge. And it's going to find its balance where certain things are meant to be in the cloud, certain things are meant to be on a device.
Yeah. Then I also hear about like devices collecting data, right? And somebody was saying the other day that his mop is connected to a giant server in China somewhere. Really, like how are these things collecting data, and what data are they collecting? And then you think about the geopolitics of the West versus Asia, and yeah, like there's so much to think about and talk about there as well. But Robert, what were you about to say?
No, actually, I mean, we can continue on this route. I actually wanted to get some like kind of questions about what it means to be a leader in the industry. So, kind of talking about that, if that's okay, shifting gears a bit, then we can go into the edge discussion. Is that okay? All right. So, I just have a few ones. I mean, first of all, it's kind of like not everyone gets into a position where they end up in a C-suite role, right? Not everyone gets to senior director even, or VP or EVP, and so I kind of wanted to just ask you, like, you know, what does it mean being in a leadership role to you? Like what drove you to become a leader in the industry, in this industry in particular? Also, let's also kind of look at sales, right? You know, you're in sales and business and driving revenue. So what drove you there?
Yeah, so I thought about this, and you and I have spoken about this quite a few times. I think leadership is just, oh, this guy grew into a role and look how good he is. I think there's different roles people play, and one of those is managing people and having bigger number of resources. But I fully appreciate people who are in roles in places like, I remember HP. There's people who's been doing QA for 30 years. That's their passion, and they're the best in the world doing it, right? And that is equally as valuable to me. But I think the driver for me, and I think a lot of people in leadership roles, is you do your job at the beginning and you figure out, I have 24 hours and these are my resources, right? This is as far as I go. It doesn't matter how good I am. This is as far as I go. Okay. And I'm good at it. But what if I had 5 people and we're all tackling this? My impact just multiplied. And maybe it's not by 5. Maybe if I share my secret sauce and they share their secret sauce, this like good combination of skills, this is 7-10 times better, right? And what if I have a team of 30 people?
And each of you with a team of AI agents?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I'm a little bit skeptic about those things. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to help amplify humanity, not change humanity. But we can talk about that later.
So if I may, Raul,
yeah,
I really just want to say, like I wanted to ask this question because you're like up all night with me. Like, I mean, like you are working your butt off nonstop. I get messages from you. You're just working all the time. And I'm just really impressed in that you kind of don't see that all the time. And it reminds me of that meme where you see kind of like the 5 kind of figures or silhouettes. And there's, you know, the leaders pulling with everyone else. And then the manager or the boss is up on the stone that's being pulled, kind of bossing them around. Right. And I really do feel like, you know, you're a leader. You lead from the front and you put in the work as well. And I felt it at least, you know, hanging out with you and working with you.
Well, I appreciate it, but I think it has to do a lot also with the moment you are in a company, right? When you are in early stage companies, you have to take as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people to delegate, right? And not that being part of a larger company is different. I've been part of the larger companies. I've had a lot of people working with me. The stress level is high. But the lanes are very well defined, and you play a very different game, right? You're figuring out how to scale, right? Here you're figuring out how to get to a growth state. But I think, look, when you lead by example, you get surrounded by people that you really want to work with. And I have people who has worked with me 3 companies, and I love that, right? Because I go to a place and I have the people that I know and I can count with. Nothing wrong with bringing new resources. The mix is nice, right? You always want the new and what you're used to. But yes, I mean, that's the fun part of being a leadership role, right? That you get to hopefully inspire people. And on the flip side, when you're a leader and you're looking at an army of people who are working hard, how can you not get inspired by that on the way back, right? How can I not work hard? So it becomes a little bit of everybody wants to compete, like who's better in the role, who's putting more, like you like to say, sweat equity. Yeah. So it's hard, right? It goes both ways. You inspire them, but at the end of the day, they inspire me to work hard, right?
But I appreciate your balance.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there at 2 a.m. too.
I appreciate your balance, though, like being able to balance it, right? And being able, you know, I'm, you know, my LinkedIn, I'm connected to so many of the executives around the world, and had the great privilege last year of helping out ISES, the International Semiconductor Executive Summit, and hosting these events with the executives. And we've lost so many executives in the last year. So many of them. I've lost a lot of friends in the last 12 months, just due to health problems. Unfortunately, and it's because of that stress and that it can overtake you. It really can. And it's so important to have that balance and to figure out that balance of work life and making sure that you're healthy and making sure that you're focusing on things that really count as well. Yes, it's important to work hard and get as much work done as we can, but we have to find that balance as well. So I appreciate seeing so many executives lately that have really found that, and they've really been focusing on that balance as well.
Yeah, that's why I love national parks and going hiking where there's no connectivity. Even if you try, you won't be able to reach me. But like I fully agree, and I think that's why it's always important to have a good partner, someone who reminds you that there's a world outside of that laptop and takes you away grudgingly. It's kind of when you're a kid and they take you to the beach and you don't want to get into the water. End of the day, your dad is asking you, "Come on, it's time to go." It's like, "No, give me 5 more minutes. I want to stay here." It's kind of the same thing, right? They have to drag you into taking some time off, and then you just remember how good life is, and like there's life outside of it. So yes, balance is super important, because if not, you're just on your path to be burnt out. And as bad as the pandemic was, it had a silver lining for many people, I think. And one of those is like, how much stupid travel were we doing? Let's have a meeting for 2 days or for a day. Yeah, I'll be there in London. Mm-hmm. Why do you have to travel for a day to London? Pick up the phone, say hi to people on the screen. You've met with them 100 times. Have a meeting. You didn't travel. You saved money, time. So I think people were just traveling because it was easy and everybody travels.
I was seeing like some people like that are now in the dev eco that I hang out with like virtually there, but like I was seeing some of them more often than I was seeing friends locally. Like I was seeing them around the world more often than I was seeing my local friends. And that's what it was kind of coming down to before COVID. But Raul, I wanted to get another question out here. And then we can kind of shift back into like, some more technical stuff, I guess. But so on this topic, I like to call these kind of like the building blocks of who you are right now. You are in a perfect place at the perfect time in front of that perfect person or opportunity. And you got that D&D dice and you roll it, and you roll a good dice roll and you succeeded. That means that what are the two things like that you can say, like two situations or one situation that kind of like you can say that's what kind of put me on this path towards getting into this whole startup space or getting into leadership and the likes? If there's one thing or two things you can think of.
Yeah, I think the first one, I've been very fortunate to have good managers. And it takes one to believe in you. So I'm from Colombia, moved from, I was living in Chile at the time that I came here. And my first role was level 0. I mean, I was senior consultant in Chile, MBA, electronic engineer, was doing big projects. And I wanted to move to the US like many people. And I was here just picking up the phones, asking people, what can I help you with? And opening a ticket for them. It's like, I was kind of like, what did I do, right? And I had this one manager who said, I have someone starting on a new role, but they can't start it for the next 2 weeks. Do you want to do it for the next 2 weeks? And then, you add up points to when we have a new opening, maybe you can take a new role. Sure, let's do it. 2 weeks later, that person asked for another 2 weeks. That's 2 more weeks for me to shine. I'll take it. And then that person took a job somewhere else. I had that jump, great. And suddenly I'm going from level 0 to I'm a project manager leading, global projects with companies like Dow Chemical and Shell. So I think part of why these people gave me a break, not just because they were good humans, but it's also how you approach them, right? I'm not entitled to that role they have. I'm not better than anyone else here. I'm just going to go work hard. Can you give me a chance? If it doesn't work, we're still friends, right? And coach me. How do I do this? How do I get better, right? And it's surprising like how many people are willing to give you a chance if you ask them the right way. So I had that. But the second thing is I also, like, my mentality in going to these things was very simple. They give me a chance. I'm going to do my best. Let's see what happens. I didn't think further than that. Nor I thought, man, I changed to this really sucky job. I hate it. I'm never going to get out of this. That's the role that I should have. It's very easy to get into a negative space at work. So I think the first thing is look for the right people in the companies, work with them, always find a good mentor around you. People are nicer than you believe. And I think that's kind of the first thing. And I would say one of the other things that really helped me was, the people that I admire the most are kind of like in my family, right? They've had different roles in different companies, some smarter, some more hardworking, but it's always not about being the smartest guy in the room. It's understanding where you are in the scale. And that delta you can put up with effort. And sure, right? You will always, and you come from an electronic engineer, there's people who are just brilliant. But I knew I was not brilliant as them. But I knew the gap. Just work hard and close that gap. You can close it, right? So as long as you know that that gap is closable through hard working, I think all of these things can happen. And I enjoyed it. Like, that was my father's lifelong teaching, always going into me. So I think those two things, I mean, this is the worst story on how you ended up in sales. I never planned it. I never thought I was going to be there. I was an electronic engineer. I always knew I wanted to do an MBA, but it was more of an MBA to, I want to understand the outer world a little bit more, not just the pieces. And my first role was throwing code. And then suddenly it's like, we have to go and show this to a customer. Like, there's no pre-sales, no nothing. I'm there showing it to customers. Like, this is kind of cool too. And I'm, playing in pre-sales. This is always kind of the next job. There's an opening here. Do you want to do it? Sure, why not? So it was faith choosing for me. I never really applied for it. I never studied for it. I never tried to figure it out. I think the progression was nice. We started with account management, which is kind of post-sales. The guy already is in there. So it's more of firefighting all the time, making customers happy, understanding their pain points. And that's where I really fell in love with sales. This is all about relationships. Build that relationship with the customer. He will be your customer, not for that product, that sale, but forever, for life. Screw him, you screw him for life too, right? So you start to build your own brand, and people pick up the phone because, yeah, I've bought from you before and it actually went well. If it didn't went well, you made it right? So you start to build those. And I really enjoyed this process of building relationships, talking to people, understanding, because it's a nice conversation, right? I discovered I'm more of a social creature than a lab person. It's been, for the past 23 years, just having different roles in sales. I've been from customer success to sales reps to account management, managing, millions and millions of dollars globally with these global accounts, rolling out electronic invoicing in 43 countries with one customer. I've been very fortunate. I've been just everywhere in sales, right? And that kind of why I like the CRO role is that I don't have to pick one now. I get to put all these pieces together and find the people to put a puzzle, and that's fun.
Robert, Quinn, this is going to be one of our easiest episodes, I think, with answers like that. Raul, I mean, amazing. And by the way, like, you brought up management. I'm going to give a shout out to like my managers that I've loved over the years. Hari, Gons, Ricardo, Yang, Kevin, and Gina, my favorite managers. And I mean, like, it's real. Like what you said is real. Like, it makes or breaks your entire experience. And it really does affect not only your work life, but it affects your private life. And it affects your career projection, like how, where you go. And so like you ended up where you are. That's really awesome. Mm-hmm. Really awesome, Raul. And thanks for the explanation, experiences. Did you want to get one in there, Robert Quinn? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Think about if two-thirds of the time that you're awake, you're at work. and think about if your work is miserable. 2/3 of the time you're awake, you're having a miserable.
Screw that. I'm going to do that.
Right?
I'm gonna do that. So this was something that I will tell you. Like I have like one quote from every single one of the managers that have since then become my mentors, and this one's from Kevin Ryan. And people have heard me say this a million times, but I just love it so much. I went up to ARM to interview. Okay, and the first time I met him, and we go through some interviews. I have to meet the whole team. He takes me over to lunch, and then like kind of towards the end, he's like, Robert, I got to tell you, man, like. I can teach you a lot of things and you could learn pretty much anything when it comes to this role, but I can't teach passion, man. And you got it. And like with passion, you can pretty much like do anything. Like you're passionate about what you're doing. You're going to enjoy what you're doing. Not only that, but you're also going to be more productive for yourself and for the company you're working for whatever you're doing. I love that. I thought that was so cool. So seek out your passion.
Creativity too.
Creativity, passion, joy.
I love your creativity.
Have the right attitude about things, right? If you have the right attitude, you have the passion, you have the energy, you're gonna solve it, right? And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. I've seen that the biggest hurdle for people in growth is themselves. Is saying, I won't get that job because I'm not qualified. I'm not gonna become a developer because I didn't study for that, right? Or I'm not a good salesperson, but I've never sold in my life. Marketing, that's for this type of people, right? You're setting the walls yourself. That's a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you have the passion, the energy, it's not easy. So you have to have passion is what makes you go through the pain, right? It's like, I really want to get this done. Energy is to sustain that time, and for sure some brain, so that you actually are learning and eventually you make it through. But you have those things, it doesn't matter what, you'll get through, right? So yeah, I agree. Passion is probably number one there. You can build the rest.
Awesome. Yeah. Robert, we ready to go into the edge question? What do you think?
Yes, I think we should. I was talking. We had a discussion before about the edge. Where is the edge? What is the edge? Robert Wolf and I actually met at an Edge AI conference here in Austin. We've been having fun talking about the edge. It was fun hearing a little bit of perspective, different perspectives on the edge. Raul, what do you think about this edge security and the how security is going to affect the edge, and how the edge technology is going to change the way that all this technology takes place?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying what I think the edge is. Anything that's not the cloud is the edge. And from big things to really, really tiny, dumb things, right?
And I disagree.
Yeah, you disagree. But the cloud is built on what? Devices, right?
Yeah.
If it's server, if it's like there's even data centers, like these micro data centers they're building. Like instead of going to the full cloud, they're building local data centers.
Yeah,
that could be a big edge too, right? So everything that can be touched as an individual token, that for me potentially is the edge, right? But I think it's more of how you approach software delivery and how you approach kind of patching and not knowing what's behind it, right? When you're thinking about the edge, these are all devices that are addressable. Like my device, like my lights I'm connected to the lights in my ceiling, to my alarm, right? That's easy to identify. The cloud, these things connect to the cloud. Sure, it's going to a device. Eventually, there's a server that is taking my compute and making a decision. But for me, it's a little bit about visibility and the way you deliver commands and software. And for me, the edge has a very different way, right? When you go to the cloud, you patch once, it gets propagated to the whole cluster of servers, right? And IoT is a little bit different, and it's a lot more distributed than the cloud is, I think.
Okay.
But should I go for my turn on edge?
Yes.
Really curious.
So I'm gonna keep it real simple. For me, the edge is whatever the layer is before that endpoint. So if this is my endpoint, then the edge is my modem or the cell tower or whatever it is that's connecting my endpoint. So whatever that last piece of technology is, that's the endpoint. the thing before it is the edge. That's the way I see it.
Is your phone an IoT device?
My phone is an everything device. It's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it is, right? Like it is, but it's not, like, was it mutually exclusive? It's not just an IoT device, I guess, but it is an IoT device. But that's the thing is, now watch. The moment I use this, so this is where it gets fun, right? So the moment I use my phone to turn these lights off, now my phone became the edge, and those lights now became the endpoint.
So your phone has a personality crisis.
Yes, everything does. Yeah. But that's the way I see it. I feel like the edge is moving. The edge moves based on, like what is accessing it.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest problem, that there's not a consensus of what the edge is, right? There's not new, but there's like extra terms to kind of try to pair it up. Like this is the fog, right? This is, you have all of these things to make it more complex. But I think you want to, I like to have a more practical way of seeing it. It is more of how you manage those things, right? If it's in the cloud, it has the delivery of patches, delivery of software, the way you interact with it, it's way different, right?
Yeah.
I just go to the internet, Google search, and it appears, right? I can say it went to a specific processing unit in a server in somewhere, and it did the computation and sent it back, right? But it's behind the scenes for me, right? You have this collective, like in Star Trek, right? There's this collective. They all speak the same. They all represent us the same, regardless of where they are. I think the edge has a little bit more of personality, where everything it's its own, master and its own little thing, right? If it's his phone working like a gateway is an IoT device, right? But behind the gateway, you can have 500 devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about a smart building. Smart building is a lot of devices in every floor. Every floor, those devices connect to probably a gateway or multiple gateways. And all of those gateways connect to probably one central super big server/gateway, local cloud, whatever you want to call it, because if the internet goes down, you still need to turn the lights on and off. You still need to do power management, the AC. I mean, we're in Texas, right? We have a heat wave coming next week. We need the AC, right? You have all those layers. That's the edge, right? The edge is all of those things that, can, interact between them, and they all have certain personality. The cloud doesn't, right? The cloud is more of a collective.
Right. But what resonates with me more than anything with the edge is that it's chips, right? And so all these IoT devices that we have today are going to be useless because they won't have the edge chips in them. So we're going to replace our phones. We're going to replace our computers. We're going to replace our watches, our iPads, and all these devices that we're carrying. They're not connected. They're not truly on the edge yet because they don't have the hardware yet. And so when they have the hardware is when they're truly operating on the edge. Is that the way you see it as well? And to me, that just resonates. Hey, we're going to have to produce a lot of chips to replace all these devices.
I think so, but I think the edge is even non-connected stupid devices, right? So think about the first microcontroller in a car was in the accelerator, which, by the way, that's how functional safety came to be. The first accelerators in cars had no functional safety. Those things could kill you if it went wrong. But it was not connected, right? It was just a little part with a microcontroller for doing the acceleration, to not just have pulling cables. And no, it's just like a little bottom in the back. Right? Your thermostat at home, they were not connected before, right. But they had a little microcontroller doing some control algorithms for, when to turn on and off. It was not connected. That's still the edge. I can still go and physically tamper into it. I can still hack to it, right? So that speaks a lot about how security, it impacts, even if it's not connected, right? I can have a car. What if I go and while you're having lunch, I'm just hacking in your car and kind of like, hardwiring a car, right? You can do that with microcontrollers. You can do that. You have to be really smart and know what you're doing, but you can do it. So I don't think connectivity is a requirement for something to be part of the edge. It's just kind of the unconnected edge, but it's still the edge. It's still a device. I don't think IoT has a requirement of connectivity. IoT has a requirement of local compute, in interaction with the world, right? It's doing something.
Yeah. How's Thistle Technologies working with semiconductor companies to integrate security more deeply into their silicon life cycle as you're talking about that?
That's great. In my past life with Edge Impulse, we figure out that anything you do with the edge, there's two approaches. You can go and sell it to the end customer, the enterprise, and convince them this is the way to go, right? Or, which I think is a smart way, not saying you don't do that, you keep doing it, but I think the smart way is to build an ecosystem, because in IoT, rarely do you have all the answers. If I go to a company and say, I'll secure it, it's like, what chip do you work on? Do you know any design house who can help us with? Do you have someone who can do a security assessment of where we are? Like, whoa. I'm just giving you a platform. Right? So we figure out from early on, and this is kind of our mantra right now at Thistle, which is we're building relationships, and we already work closely with some of them, especially in Infineon, but we're working closely with the silicon vendors because they fuel the edge, right? It runs on what these guys build. But there's other actors, right? Where does the silicon vendor goes to? Where does that silicon goes to? It goes to a module. So there's module makers who are taking that silicon, putting it there. And then you have other silicon vendors who build not just the microcontrollers and microprocessors, but also create the secure elements. So you have all these pieces of hardware. Now, hardware by itself, when you read new specs on any microcontroller or microprocessor today, a lot of them have security specs.
Yeah.
They're not usable until you write code to use them. That's the big gap in today's world. You have all of these features. Now you have to write code to use it, and it's awfully hard. That's what Edge Impulse does, right? And that's why we're working with the silicon vendors and the SOM makers, like system and module makers, so that we can build a software that leverages that hardware to provide a secure device at the end, right? So you think about the whole chain and all the actors. You have the silicon vendors, you have the SOM makers, you have distributors who put all pieces together and doing the provisioning of keys, building the devices, or building them at scale, or selling them like a DG, right? Or a Mouser. You have the design houses. If I'm not building this device in-house, who's building it for me? Taking that SOM, putting a screen, a camera, and making sure everything works together, and a base firmware. Like, putting all these things together is not easy. So that's why we've been working from like the silicon vendors and building this ecosystem with amazing companies already. So we have a very nice ecosystem. It just grows every day. Because now when we go to the end customer, there's a story. Right now we can say which ones we support, why we work. We can actually give them some advice. If they want to use something I don't support, it's easy for me to support it anyway. But there's a more complete story, and I can actually help them. Even if they want to just do an assessment, I have people who are experts, consultants on CRA. Go there, they'll help you build a plan for you, and it should be able to help you guys in your journey. And that's how we're going. So I would call it a sandwich approach. We're building from the bottoms up, from all the way silicon to the enterprise, right? That doesn't mean I'm not talking to the C-level directors, VPs of all these companies, Siemens and Honeywells of the world, and convincing them, hey, it's coming, you guys better do it. And while they're thinking about it, I'm going from the bottoms up I'm going to be embedded into the products. Like, next time they buy a system of module, it's going to be Thistle ready, right?
Thistle ready. There you go. That's the term.
Yeah, Thistle inside.
So
cool by Thistle.
So we do have to kind of like be conscious of the time, right? It is about 5 till. I would like to just get one last thing in, Robert, if that's okay. There's one thing we did not really address yet. I want to, Raul, if you could sell to the developers here, tell the developers where they need to go and why they need to go there, and then we can close this episode out, if that's okay.
No, that's a great one, because at the end of the day, we are a developer-first company. Our platform was built for developers. That's our user, right? And I think that's one of the big mistakes of most companies out there. They want to sell to the enterprise. They want to sell to the silicon vendor. They want to sell to all of these people and to the VP of innovation. At the end of the day, the user is the developer. And that's why a lot of tools are hard to use, because they sold the value to other roles, but still the developer has to use it. So we're building with the developer in mind. We want to make the developer work easier, faster, and for the other people in the company, cheaper as well. So I think the best way to build this developer first platform is for developers to go to this link and just try our platform. There's a free tier. Go try it, sign up, go to our Discord. I'm sure you can post somewhere where we are in Discord.
Actually, if you go to that link right there, fill out the form, then you'll get an email that takes you to the Discord.
Even better, right? So go sign up, because we have amazing documentation. We have step-by-step tutorials on how to do how to start onboarding in our platform. So this platform is for you, the developers. Go do it, and please send us feedback, because that's how we grow, right? I want to see how people use us, what they like, what they don't like. It's great. We're starting their journey. So nothing is written in stone. I appreciate feedback. We don't shy away for feedback. As long as it makes sense, it'll end up in the product. So go use it. Tell us how you liked it. We have a weekly column in Hackster, Security Tuesdays. We have a great Discord. We have great documentation. We work with amazing people like Robert Quinn here, where they're helping put the word out, right? I think we made an interview to someone in Solid Run really fast. He was asked what was the biggest challenge, and the biggest challenge of embedded security was for people to learn what that meant and how it impacted them and why they had to do something about it, right? So talking with people like you is really the right thing. We need to help people understand you need to do this. And there are many ways to do it. Thistle is one of the ways. I personally think we're the better way, but everybody is open to choose whatever path they do. So go sign up. Let us know what you think.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the Discord is literally just a bunch of devs yelling at back and forth at each other. It's crazy. You'll love it. No, Raul, thank you so much. I mean, I'm going to pass this over to this side to Robert Quinn to close this out. But I just wanted to say before I do, Raul, thank you. This is awesome. Appreciate you very much, and thank you for everyone else at Thistle who loaned us your CRO for an hour. Everyone else who's watching this,
for inviting me.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much, Raul. Thanks so much, RW, for joining us today. And I can't express how much this means to me to be able to have y'all on the show and to be able to talk about this industry, where things are going, this technology, the speed of change that we're seeing in this technology is absolutely so fast that I would love to. I love to be able to get your insights and both of your views on this. This is great. And join us on the next show. We're going to Robert. What was the next coming up show here?
Oh gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot like that. Let me see.
Yeah.
The next one is with. Oh no, let me see. We're in May. Where is it? It's Thursday. Gotta find it. 1 second. I'm not gonna find it. I can't find it. I have too many tabs open.
We'll put it up. We'll put it up there.
We'll put it up. Yeah, we'll put it up.
We'll put it up for sure. But join us on our next show. Loved having you, Raul. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for everybody for watching the show. And y'all have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. Bye.